Hello and welcome to episode 400 of the Weekly Waypoint. That's right, 400 weeks without a break. We're still going strong, baby! Today, we're playing Burnout Legends for the PSP. And you might be wondering, Christian, why are we playing Burnout Legends for the PSP? Does it have some sentimental value to you? Does it have some kind of meaning to the channel? Does it have anything to do with the 400 episode milestone? No, not a thing. We're playing Burnout Legends because I felt like playing Burnout Legends. Look, I've done so many milestone episodes at this point that I've kind of run out of ideas for milestone episodes. I did have kind of a plan. I thought I'll do 3 matches across the 3 Unreal Tournament games. I'll do a match in Unreal Tournament 99, 2004, and 3, because Unreal Tournament is a staple game of the series, and it could be fun to have 3 matches in one video. But I've been running into technical issues this week. I won't bore you with them too much, but basically the left click on my mouse was dying, so I ended up having to revert back to the old mouse, which I kept, where I originally got rid of it because the laser is malfunctioning. So basically, when I try to move my mouse in a straight line, it kind of wobbles around sometimes, which not conducive to playing a first-person shooter, so it's kind of choosing my poison at the minute. I use the Logitech G300S, which is no longer being made and is therefore irreplaceable. And the problem with this mouse is it's very uniquely made in that it has 2 extra buttons to the left of a left click, 2 extra buttons to the right of a right click, and 2 extra buttons beneath the scroll wheel. And I've been using these mouses for years and years, and I've configured my entire gaming setup around those controls, especially MMOs, and no other mouse does it. And I'm left-handed as well, so I can't just get an MMO mouse or something like that. So it's a problem. So since a game where you aim with a mouse is out of the question at the minute, I decided to fall back on a controller game. And Burnout Legends, yeah, you're currently seeing it upscaled. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily look amazing upscaled. No PSP game does. But otherwise, it would be a very tiny video, so this is just what we're gonna have to deal with. But you didn't come here to listen to my technical woes. You came here because of a title, which is me talking about my most anticipated games of 2026. Because, if I'm being honest, I've barely touched video games this week. I've barely played anything, and I don't really have much to talk about in terms of what I've played. It's been World of Warcraft, Legion Remix, and some player housing stuff, and that's about it. So firstly, since it's the first thing that I mentioned, World of Warcraft is getting a new expansion next year, World of Warcraft Midnight, which has quite a lot of hype around it because, much like Legion itself, it's one of those kind of jumping the shark kind of expansions, or at least it feels like it is. You know, it feels like an expansion where big, important, universe-changing stuff is gonna go down. We're revisiting Silvermoon and the Blood Elf lands, and we're doing a whole bunch of, like, fan-requested for many years story beats, and it's gonna be a good time. I don't get as excited for World of Warcraft expansions as I used to, so this isn't my most anticipated game of 2026, if we're going to call an expansion a game. But I'm sure as we get closer to the launch, my hype will start ramping up. It's a weird one because I feel like the main exciting feature about the expansion is already out, and that's player housing. But I suppose the thing I'm really excited about next is the continuation of player housing with the release of the Endeavors system, which will allow us to more easily level up our houses and give us unrestricted kind of like building, at least compared to what it is right now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the new Demon Hunter spec. I'll make a Void Elf for it. I'm supposed to be looking forward to the story because it's, you know, a very hype story-based expansion, but I've been having issues with WoW's storytelling in the last few years, and I think I have to lower my expectations nowadays. I don't know, man. I did not enjoy the Ghosts of Koresh patch as much as most people seem to, and I think it was because I took Metzen's words about being serious about story too naively. And for the last few years I have been feeling like I tend to enjoy WoW's smaller patches more than its bigger patches and expansion releases. I tend to enjoy the release of features like obviously player housing, which to be fair is not a small patch, but you know, like the lore walking stuff, you know, things like that. But no, one of the games coming out next year that I am unashamedly really excited about is LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. Because if you haven't been paying attention, TT Games have really upped their game recently. Like with LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, sure it wasn't a perfect 10 out of 10 or anything, but it was a much bigger, more ambitious, and I would say fun and exciting video game for all ages than they've ever made before. And I'm a huge DC Comics fan, I'm a huge Batman fan. Just this announcement alone kind of reignited my hyperfixation with the character, and I spent ages this year reading Batman comics. And everything this game is pitching, everything that it is setting out to do, is something that really, really excites me. The idea of like pulling all of this lore from the many corners of the Batman universe, from different comics, different comic eras, from different movies and stuff like that, and trying to like make it one big cohesive story, but like with a Lego tone. That's awesome. My one concern is it does seem like they're straying away from their previous tried and true formula of having tons and tons of unlockable characters. It seems like there might only be like 7 characters in the game, which I don't know if that's actually true or if that's just like a story mode only thing, but that could be a bit weird and that could feel like a missed opportunity if so. That's like the one thing holding me back from going full hype mode about this game. Another one of my most anticipated games coming out early next year again. It's all quite early releases actually. It's Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, which is a remake / reimagining, if you want to go further with that term, of Dragon Quest VII, and I've played a decent bit of that game over on 3DS, and I have a real fond spot for it. Dragon Quest VII was always kind of the odd one out in the series, because it's the one that goes on for like over 100 hours, just the main story, so it's always been seen as like this behemoth. The way they structure the story is very episodic, and it was also overlooked during its initial release because back when it first came out, it came out after Final Fantasy VII, and technically speaking, it was a less ambitious game. It was still like a mostly 2D, old-fashioned JRPG, and so it was kind of frowned upon at the time. But I think in recent years, people have really come to appreciate it for what it is, and I followed the Dragon Quest subreddit for a while until people just started blatantly posting spoilers about other games, so I left. But when I was there, I was starting to see a lot of people post about it being their favourite entry in the entire series, and I'm really curious to see how this reimagined version of the game updates and streamlines the experience, because they are actually removing some content in an effort to make this more, not brief, but like in line with the length of other Dragon Quest RPGs, which are also pretty long. But I think, broadly speaking, I'm more excited about Dragon Quest VII Reimagined than I ever was about Dragon Quest III HD 2D or 1 and 2 HD 2D, which I've still yet to pick up. Now, let's talk about a couple of early access games which we can already play if we want to right now, but I am going to wait until their full release. The first is RuneScape Dragon Wilds, which I have already played a little bit of. When that game first launched into early access, I booted it up, I played it, I had a really good time, and ever since I've stayed away from it, and I've just been seeing more and more good news come out about that game, like the fact that they added an entire development team to focus on another kind of update that the community was asking for. The game came out of the gate really strong, and it's just been getting exciting looking updates ever since, and I think when it releases out of early access, it has the potential to be something really special. Another early access release which is scheduled to come out in 2026 is Titan Quest 2, and if you're not aware, Titan Quest is kind of a Diablo-like style game, except it's set in Greek mythology. I have played Titan Quest 1, but I was late to the party and it has aged a little bit too much for my tastes. I've tried a few times, but ultimately speaking, there's just a few too many things where I'm like, oh, that's annoying to have to deal with. Or, oh, I'm used to this being done in a bit more of a modern way. So Titan Quest 2, I'm looking to you. And you know what, I'm going to go check the Steam page and see how it's coming along, because I haven't checked in for a while. Things are looking good. It has 6,000 Steam reviews, averaging very positive, but I have noticed some Titan Quest 1 players leaving not recommended reviews, talking about how the game feels, different to the one that they know and love. But with a different development team, I suppose that was to be expected, and I don't know if that's necessarily a criticism that could be, that would come from me, considering I haven't really played all that much of the first game. Next up, a tentative entry for 2 reasons. First of all, I'm not on good terms with Microsoft or Xbox recently for reasons I've talked about before. I'm trying to stray away from their entire ecosystem and stuff. However, I will probably take an interest in the next Forza Horizon game. Forza Horizon 6 was apparently mentioned somewhere as coming out in 2026. However, dubious, very dubious, because we've yet to have a trailer. All we know is it's set in Japan, which is something we've been asking for a very long time, and is hype if done right. It is worth noting, however, that the game director and some other prominent members of a dev team for Forza Horizons 4 and 5 no longer work at the company, so, I'm dubious for many reasons. Also, Microsoft killed Forza Motorsport, so who knows, honestly, what direction the series will take. Who knows if the game will even fully manifest before they sacrifice it to their dark AI gods. Now we're getting into the territory of video game listings that I've put a question mark next to, and I can't remember if it's because it hasn't been confirmed that they're coming out in 2026, or because I don't know if I really care all that much, but I could see myself becoming interested in. The first is Pokopia, which is that weirdly named Pokemon game which kind of looks like Dragon Quest Builders. In fact, I think it might have been made by the Dragon Quest Builders team. I can't remember if that's something I read or if that's something that I just dreamed. But if so, that sounds cool, man. I just don't want to play it on a Switch 1, and that's all I got right now, so shrug. It looked a little rough in its initial trailer, but it's a fun concept, I suppose. I'm just a very tired Pokemon fan who is mostly tired because, well, in terms of Pokemon, let's not get into all the other stuff, because he's tired of seeing his favourite franchise have game trailers which come out looking kind of rough. Remember when game trailers used to come out looking amazing and then they would release in a state that was worse than that? Pokemon trailers, they'd come out looking terrible. they still release looking that bad. Speaking of Pokemon, again, in the same vein as the Forza Horizon 6 thing, Pokemon Gen 10 is rumoured / has been mentioned offhandedly to be coming out in 2026, but shrug, I could see that being a 2027 thing, honestly, but it has been a while, so it would be cool to see that announced, unveiled, and perhaps potentially released. Again, no, I would expect that to be a Switch 2 thing, and I don't have one of them. I have Starseeker written down with a question mark next to it. I don't even know what Starseeker is. This is like when you find a game on your Steam wishlist and you're like, what the hell is that game? And then you see one screenshot and you're like, oh yeah, that game, that can stay on my wishlist, and then you rinse and repeat the next month. Oh, Starseeker is the next game by the people who made Astroneer. Okay. I keep forgetting that. Every time I forget that. What the hell is Starseeker? Right, Astroneer 2. Okay, got it. It's not really fair to call it Astroneer 2. It looks like they're going for a different style of game. It looks like they're kind of chasing No Man's Sky a little bit. But it does look cool, and I would be interested to see more. My only concern is that Astroneer is a very unique game. Even though it's a survival crafting game, just the way everything is presented and the way the UI works and stuff. And Starseeker looks like it's maybe going to be less unique and more like, inspired by other games that already do the same thing, but that's not like a hill I'm willing to die on. That's just a very vague, I barely remember putting this game on the list opinion. If I had a PS5, I would be excited about Marvel's Wolverine releasing next year because I love Insomniac and I am a fan of the Marvel universe. However, I do not have a PS5, so I shall be watching from the sidelines and clapping along with glee. Also, I put the Animal Crossing update on here because Animal Crossing is getting a 3.0 update with a pretty substantial set of little new things to do, and that's nice. I like Animal Crossing, that's cool to see. I think there's like a hotel now where you can invite guests and decorate their rooms and stuff, which just seems really fun. They're also creating what's basically a creative mode with the Slumber Islands, where you have infinite resources to put down anything and you can just create an island and upload it via like the Dream Mentor network. Oh, and they're doing a Lego crossover. I love that. Plus, for the first time since Animal Crossing for the GameCube, we can have actual real old NES games and stuff to play within the game if we have the consoles. There's other stuff as well. It's basically a full-on expansion for free. Like, there's also a Nintendo Switch 2 update, but it's basically just it runs better. But you know what? Why limit it to video games? There are other things coming out in 2026 that I'm excited about, so we can talk about that too. First of all, Daredevil Born Again Season 2. I quite enjoyed Season 1. Perhaps not quite as much as the original Netflix series, but certainly close. Season 1 was interesting because it used to be a different show and they pivoted to try and make it about different plot lines, but you couldn't really tell. It was done pretty well, so you couldn't really see the seams unless you looked really closely. But Season 2 is I think it's when they go all out with the new stuff, so we're not really beholden to the old stuff all that much anymore. At least that's the impression I have from stuff I've seen and read and heard. We also have the final part of Bleach 1000 Year Blood War, which is very exciting. A new trailer came out yesterday, I think. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm very excited for it. I'm considering rewatching all of 1000 Year Blood War to get, you know, fully caught up and, well, I mean, I'm already caught up, but to fully refresh everything in my memory and see what it's like to binge that series before the new one comes out. I'm a massive Bleach fan. I really hope they continue the series in some form after this, even though that's the end of the manga. And I feel like there's been enough kind of like titillating rumors and nods towards that direction for that to maybe be the case. Like, I have to wonder if Kubo's considered continuing the story in an anime-only medium, because it means less hardcore mangaka work for him, which made him ill in the past, and honestly, who could blame him, considering the pressure that mangaka are put under to put out work so frequently. But yeah, Hell Arc, I would love a Hell Arc that's kind of like continuing on from the special anniversary one-shot he did. That was so cool. And seeing Ichigo all grown up, man, it gave me emotions. But there are other shows, such as Season 4 of Invincible is coming out next year. I've only seen Season 1, but this year I read through the entire comic, and I loved it so much. And I'm tempted to maybe get caught up when Season 4 comes out, but I might also try and hold off until the show is fully finished. Because the prospect of binging the entire thing is very nice to me, but then, you know, that would be waiting for many years. At which point I probably wouldn't remember the comic and the things that it did differently, so, you know, maybe I should just watch or get caught up with Season 4 when that comes out next year. That's probably the way to go. There's also a DC show coming out next year called Lanterns, which is all about Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart. You know, the Green Lantern Corps, I suppose, and I'm very interested in that. I don't know how I would see it, though. It's going to be a HBO original. I don't know where that would end up in the UK. Probably Now TV, and if so, I would probably wait until a future time when I would get Now TV and probably watch it alongside, I don't know, probably House of the Dragon if that ever fucking comes out. We also have the Scrubs revival, which please be good, please be good, please don't be just awful and cringe. That's my feelings towards the Scrubs revival. It could be really good, it could be really bad. And then as far as movies goes, I'm excited for Supergirl and Spider-Man Brand New Day, even with that title. Apparently the trailer leaked, so I guess that's probably coming out soon, the trailer anyway. There's an Avatar movie coming out next year called The Legend of Aang the Last Airbender, which is supposed to, you know, continue his story on from where the show ended. I think maybe as an adult, and I'm very interested to see that. I loved Legend of Korra and hints we got about his future after that, or I suppose before that show. Then we've got Avengers Doomsday, which is going to be coming out, but I am far, far behind on the MCU, so I should probably catch up. And the final note I've got is unlikely, to be honest, but hey, there's Narnia the Magician's Nephew that's coming out, and I could see myself checking it out when it comes to streaming if it looks good, because I read that book and I really liked it. It's a prequel to The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and there's some really interesting stuff which goes on in that book. Like, I think it's called a portal fantasy, right? You get to see some other worlds other than Narnia, and honestly, The Chronicles of Narnia is a book series which I've been mildly curious about for a very long time. I think I read some of The Horse and His Boy, and I was very curious about the fact that so many years had elapsed in the fantasy world since The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. So honestly, that might be a reading project sometime in the future, because, I don't know, it just kind of appeals to me. I don't know how much those books were ultimately made for kids back in the day, but I don't know, man. I don't know. All ages, really, right? All ages. If I can be excited about Lego Batman, I can be excited about the Chronicles of Narnia. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I've got my eye on that's coming out next year. Unless there's something I forgot. There will inevitably be something that I've forgotten or overlooked, or something that's not been announced yet, or something that's been announced between me compiling my notes and me talking about them. And, you know, I've gone back and looked at me talking about the things I'm most excited about in the past and been like, oh, I didn't even check out most of that stuff. Or when that came out I realised I didn't actually care. And, oh, this thing that I didn't think I cared about is the actual thing that took me completely by surprise. So who knows how the year will actually shake out, but this is where I'm at now. But yeah, that's gonna do it. 400 episodes of the Weekly Waypoint, can you believe it? I think 2026 marks the 8th year anniversary in April sometime, so that'll be fun. It's fun to think about how close the 100 episode milestone was to the 2-year anniversary milestone, and how much that's drifted over time, and how it's gonna sync up again eventually. Time's weird, man. But yes, this series continues to be an exercise in the use of free will and creativity, and dog-headed determination to create in the face of the nihilism and adversity and all that other stuff. I've given this speech before, so if you checked it out, thanks for checking it out. I appreciate each and every viewer, and if you liked it, please consider giving it a like, leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of games you want me to play in this series. Honestly, could be a fun little interaction, and I will catch you in whatever I make next.